Hello and good morning, everybody. I'm in my living room. This is YMCA group exercise online with the YMCA of York and York County. My name is Justin. I'm a group exercise instructor from the Southern Branch YMCA, and today we're going to be doing yoga. The only thing you will need for this class is a chair, preferably without arms. You can do this barefoot, in socks, however you're most comfortable. I will also recommend that you have a water bottle close by so we can take hydration breaks throughout our class this morning. We will be doing a mix of yoga and Tai Chi today. Our yoga portion, we're going to be looking at the deep squat. So opening the hips, opening the hamstrings, being able to approach the floor without actually getting on the floor. This being a gentle seated yoga class, we're not going to do any floor stuff, but we're trying to open up the body, strengthen the body to be able to get down towards the floor. So starting out, sitting comfortably in the chair with your back against the back of the chair, feet out so the legs aren't braced. Go ahead, shake out the arms, take a big deep breath, and let it go. Let's do that 2 more times. Just a big deep breath and let it go. One more time. So for our breathing exercise this morning, we're going to do something called the elastic breath. Not really a traditional yoga breathing exercise, but trying to use the whole core, the muscles of the rib cage, the diaphragm, and even the pelvic floor to try to get the body to breathe as expressively, as expansively as we can. So the first half of this is just what we started with. Inhale to a point of comfortable fullness and let it go. Inhale to a point of comfortable fullness and let it go. One more time. So that's the first half of our breath. Inhaling to the point where you feel a slight stretch through the rib cage and exhaling back to a neutral. The second half of this is a little bit trickier. We're going to start by blowing out all of the air until we get a comfortable squeeze in the trunk. So for whatever breath you're at now, blow all the way out. Relax this and let the air come rushing back in. So it's a blow out, active exhale, squeeze, passive inhale, active exhale, passive inhale. So that's 4 phases. We go active inhale, passive exhale, active exhale, passive inhale, active inhale. So let it out, 2 breaths, passive exhale, active exhale. Let it back in, passive inhale, active inhale. 4 distinct phases. So we're going to do this 3 more times, starting with an active inhale, passive exhale, passive inhale, back to our active inhale. So with me, inhale, let it go, and blow. Relax, and inhale, double exhale, double inhale. 1 more time. And then just let it out. So that can be a tricky breathing exercise to learn. I would invite you to come back and try this later on until you're comfortable with it. It's a really good breathing exercise to oxygenate the body and just stretch and squeeze the core. We're doing that with me. So starting from the chair, scooting forward about halfway up in the chair. Hands at your side. You're just going to reach up toward the ceiling and down toward the floor. Inhale as the arms come up. And exhale as the arms lower. Let's go 4 more. One last time. So since we're looking at a deep squat today, we just start with opening the hips and lower body. So go ahead and move the feet out to a wide V shape, just so that the knees are in line with the toes. You don't want the knees and the toes to face the same direction. Don't worry about how far out the toes go. Hands on your knees, give you a long spine, and hinge forward, stretching into the inner thigh. Back up. Nice and slow, just down, and exhaling down. And inhale back up. You should feel that there's a slight stretch somewhere, either on the inner or outer thigh, maybe into the hamstring. Really making sure you keep that spine long. I want you to stay facing toward the screen. I'm going to turn. Because what we want is flat back, chest up, hinging forward, trying to keep it a straight line. What I don't want is a collapse. So extend to the spine, sitting up from the tailbone, and back up. Let's go 3 more. One more time. So again, I'm going to stay facing to the side. I want you to stay facing toward the screen. Get your left leg forward on the heel with the toes pointed. Hands up. And we're going to draw a circle, reaching down towards your ankles. Lift to about shoulder height, and then rotate up and back. So just sweeping down, reaching down, and then up and back. This was more of a little Tai Chi move, circling down and back up. I like to exhale as I go down and inhale as I come back up. These are active range of motion hamstring stretch. Don't try to reach as far as you can. Just a comfortable stretch. And then 2 more all the way around. Switching legs, left leg in, right leg out. Again, toes lifted just a little bit. And I'm going to reach down, sweeping down, a comfortable reach. Rolling up and in, out and down, up and in. So your breath can really be whatever you want it to be as long as it's comfortable. And as long as there's really no hard starts and stops. You don't want to hold the breath. Just try to keep breathing slow and steady. For 3. time, all the way around. So go ahead, get your feet flat. Again, stay right in the middle of the chair. I'm going to turn back toward the screen. And with the feet from the center, go ahead and give me the left leg out to the side at an angle. 90 degrees, all right. Again, make sure the knees line up with the toes. And we're going to do a side bend here. So using your hand or forearm on the thigh, give me your right arm up and over. Up and over. Just range of motion up and back. Thinking about being a long line from your right hip through the right fingertips, up and over. Maybe you can go a little bit further each time. And I'll let you choose your breath on this. Just go with what feels natural. Slow and easy. So you always want an active stretch. So keep thinking about down through the right hip as you come over. Feeling that stretch through the side and back. Let's get two more. And then we'll hold it. Up and over. Last one, we're going to hold it here for 3 breaths. So come up and over, get a comfortable stretch, and then 3 comfortable deep breaths. Pulling through the right arm to come all the way up, and switching sides. So go ahead, left leg back to the center. Always center first and then extend with the other side. So again, range of motion first, using your hand or your forearm on the thigh, left arm up and over. Just getting a feel for how this side is compared to the other side. Not rushing through anything, just feeling our way through. Breathing comfortably. And let's go 4 more. And thinking about some downward pressure in that left hip as you come over. So you can tell I'm really trying to stretch and open the legs before we come up and do anything standing. One more time, up and over for 3 breaths. Coming up and over, hold it here for 3 breaths. Pulling to the left arm to come all the way back up, and feet flat. So again, I want you to stay facing toward the screen. I'm going to turn, and we're going to look at coming up to standing into a standing squat or chair pose. So again, I'm going to be toward the middle of the front of the chair, ankles under knees, swinging the arms. So this is going to be a 4-step process. Start out with just the arms moving, reach forward, reach forward. As you reach, phase 2 is to start to shift your weight forward, loading the legs. Don't lift the hips off of the seat yet. We're just shifting forward, feeling the feet and the legs activate, the hips activate. The third phase is actually lifting halfway or partway out of the seat. So reach and lift, lower and down. Try to control that. Reach and lift, lower and down. Make sure your knees don't go past your toes. 2 more. Reach and lift, lower and down. Last one. Reach and lift and lower down. So our 4th phase, we're coming all the way up. Let's put it together. We'll go 3, 2, 1, and on the last one, we'll come up. So it's 3, 2, you can come partway out of the seat if you want. Last one, all the way up, sweep, arms up toward the ceiling, and down to the sides. From here, because we're right in front of the chair, we'll go ahead and do our first chair pose or semi-squat. I'm keeping my feet about hip to shoulder width apart instead of having a narrow base, because as we hinge back, you want the hips to be open. And when we do a deep squat, we'll go even a little bit wider. But we're going to start here, sitting back. You're going to sit in the chair. I like to start with the hands on the knees for a little bit of support. Weight should be towards your heels, not up toward the toes. So shift back. If you feel a little bit unsteady, you're doing it right. From here, arms reach out toward the horizon or up toward the ceiling. Wherever you're comfortable, and breathe. See if you can settle in a little bit more, back to the hips. Are you feeling it in your legs yet? All the way up, reach, and down. So I'm going to turn back toward the screen. We're going to take the chair right where it is and go on the left side of the chair. Come up a little bit. Doing warrior one to help stretch and open the hip flexor, and also to try to sink in a little bit to work the glute and the thigh. So we're going to step back with your outside foot, comfortable distance, bending the front knee. Make sure the knee does not go past the toes, and your shoulders over hips. You might already feel the stretch through the hip flexor. So let's take into a flow. I'm going to keep my right hand on the chair, left arm, big circle, up and back. Up and back. Reach up toward the ceiling, back toward the horizon behind you, down to the floor, and out towards your screen. One more time, all the way around. Now give me both arms toward the ceiling. Shoulders relax. What I want you to try is wiggle into the hips to see if you can sink lower into the right hip without having to bend that knee anymore. So it's a wiggle and shift and settle and breathe. Only going as low as you're comfortable. Trying to balance the weight between the front hip and the back hip, or left hip stretch, right hip working. So coming all the way up, straightening the leg, step, left foot forward. Switching sides of the chair, same thing. Stepping your outside leg, right leg back. Front knee bends. Get this stretch first. We're not worried about going low first, just stretch. Right arm circle back. That slight rotation outward with the hip as you reach back. You never want to fight a stretch or force a stretch. We're going to ask our body to participate with us. One more time. So go ahead and give me both arms up here and wiggle and shift to try to get into the left hip a little bit more. Three more breaths. And slowly coming all the way up, stepping in. So again, I want you to stay facing toward the screen. I am going to turn. Doing downward facing dog to stretch the hamstrings in the back of the body. Fingertips on the chair, stepping back. Sink the hips back. It's like somebody's got their back belt loop and they pull straight back. Knees relaxed and sinking into the shoulders. And you can bicycle the legs, bending one and straightening the other side to side. And then sink into the stretch. Kind of feel that down the hamstrings. Bend the knees, drop the hips, we're rolling up. Head and shoulders coming up last. So I want you to stay behind the chair. So you're going to be behind the chair and wide stance. I'm going to move my chair out of the way for now. We're going to do warrior two. I don't do warrior two very often in this class. So we're going to start with the feet wide and getting toes out. Trying to line up the heel of the foot with the arch of the other foot. So I like to kick the heel out a little bit on that right foot. Warrior two, I'm going to bend the knee. So kind of the knee is over the center of the foot, of the arch of the foot, not past the toe. Wiggle in a little bit, get the arms out and reach toward the horizon. So I'm opening the legs, opening the chest, looking out over your left middle finger. And here, just like warrior one, we can try to sink. So again, I don't have to move my knee a whole lot, sink down. And that's just going to be wiggling and settling into the hips. But I want you to feel that open through the hips more than anything. Pull back through your right arm so you're not leaning. Two more breaths. Straightening my left knee, right into triangle. Reach toward the horizon, left arm down, right arm up, stretching to the inner thigh. Pulling through the right arm to come back up. Square off the feet. So toes and sides of the feet square. It's always good to reset before we switch sides. Starting with warrior two, turning the right toes out. And I like to kick the left heel out a little bit. But still trying to go arch of the foot to heel alignment. Bending your right knee. Open the hips. And what I mean by that is just kind of extend from the hip bones outward either direction. Kind of rotating the left thigh out and rotating the right thigh out. Make sure your knee stays over the toes. Arms out. So I'm open through the hips, open through the chest, pulling back through the left arm to make sure you're not leaning, and then settle in a little bit to see if you can go deeper without bending that knee too much more. Looking out over your right middle finger. Reaching away through the fingertips. Straightening that right knee, reach toward the horizon, and I'm going to go right arm down, left arm up. Just kind of stretching into the inner thigh and hamstring. Pulling through the left arm to come all the way up. Squaring off and narrow your stance. All right, we're going to take a short break here, grabbing a little bit of water, because when we come back, we're going to look at our deep squat. So let's go ahead and do some Tai Chi flows to look at getting into the hips a little bit deeper. We're going to do yang style, single whip, and snake creep through grass. So still, you're going to be behind your chair. with the feet wide, and then the toes angled out slightly. This way, when the knees bend, you'll have some space to play with so the knees can stay over the toes. So feet wide, starting with single whips. I'm going to take my left hand and hook the fingertips together, making a beak or a hook. They're actually called hook hand or beak hand. Having it about shoulder height, arm relaxed. Starting with my left arm, I'm going to scoop and push. Scoop and push. As you scoop in, trying to sit or squat toward the left, and push and squat toward the right. And push. Scoop and push. Make sure that the left arm stays relaxed. Trying to go from hip to hip. So I'm going up and over and sit and push. Up and over and sit. Let's go 3. 2. My next push, I'm going to keep that arm out. So I come up, over, push, stop. Snake creeps through grass. Reverse that movement. Come up, push down, and sweep. Pull under the leg. Sweep and up. So I'm trying to sit and squat as the hand pushes down, and sweep and up. Pay attention to your knees. If you are limited about how low you can go, you're only going to what's comfortable. Sit and sweep. Give me 2 more. Release the hook and hook with the right. So starting with single whip, just start with the arm movement. I sweep and push. Sweep and push. Once you're comfortable with the movement, you can start to squat a little bit lower. Two more. Last one, pushing out and leave the arm extended. Reverse that movement. So I'm coming up, pat down, sweep the line of the leg. Pat down, squatting down, and sweep. So again, just go as low as you're comfortable. Two more. Last one. Squaring off. Narrow your stance. Now let's take an easy one. Have feet about hip to shoulder width apart, sweeping up, reaching toward the ceiling, and gently pull down. For 5. One more time. All right, so now we get to look at the deep squat. I want you to be in front of your chair. The caveat being, with a deep squat, you're actually not going to be close enough to sit on the chair. The reason is you're trying to go lower than that. So the chair's behind you in case you need it as a support, but far enough in front of it, you're not going to have to worry about hitting it as you go down. So let's start with just a chair sit in front of the chair. So you'll notice my feet are angled outwards. And the reason for this is you want to be able to hinge enough through the hips. So if your feet are straight ahead, you tend to get in your own way. So we want the feet to be about outer hip, maybe shoulder width apart, or maybe a little bit wider. You don't want to do a real super wide deep squat because that can put too much pressure on the hips. So this is going to be some playing with it and listen to your body. So with just chair sit, make sure you're close enough right now that you're going to hit the chair. So we're going to squat down. And when you feel yourself hit the chair, don't try to let your weight commit to it. Try to stay hovering and then back up. Come down and hover. And back up. Two more. So I'm reaching my arms out to counterbalance. And one more time. So we're going to do a movement assessment. Now I want you to stay facing towards the screen. I'm going to turn. So we don't need movement assessment. Well, just like our down dog where you will think about somebody pulling your back belt loop, we want to do the same thing with the squat. So as you come down, coming down, make sure that it's really butt out. You're sticking your butt out as far as you can. This way my knees don't shift forward, my center of gravity right in line. Because in order to get into that deep squat, it's really about the hips and getting into that hip joint. So while we're here, I'm going to take a step forward. Again, feet about outer hip width apart, toes and go outward slightly. And we're going to go deep squat. So chair's close enough if you need it, but not so close that you're going to hit it. I'm going to start hands on the top of the thigh. This way you can actually push in, and then I'm going to hinge down. And you can stop wherever you want. Have your arms there for support. If you can keep going, the weight should be in the heel. If you're up on your toes, that's going to put too much pressure on the knee. So I'd rather have you here, out and back with the arms for support than up on the toes. The weight should stay in the heel. We can reach out, our fingertips touch the floor. Coming back up, wherever you are, go ahead and touch your fingertips to the floor. I'm going to hinge up with the tailbone. Do a frog squat, and then all the way up. So not coming at it like a squat, using the hip and glute muscles. We're going to do this a couple more times, so go at your own pace. You can stop whenever you're done. But always think about hips back toward the horizon, away, away, away. So here we go. Bend, sit. You can have the hands on the knees, but you're hinging back toward the horizon, and then lower down. Also from here, if you're comfortable in this deep squat, you can try to extend the spine, long spine, so lifting the tailbone, lifting the rib cage a little bit. You'll feel it more. Make sure that weight stays in the heels. Again, fingertips to the floor, and hinge the hips up. And then up. All right, one more time. Big breath. So coming down. Make it phases. Walk your way down. Bend. Back. And really, if you're here and you're about halfway down, that's fine. Get yourself used to this position. You really have to be open in the hips, in the hamstrings, really in the hip flexor to be able to get down to this position. And you want to make sure you're comfortable as you can be. While you're here, if you're comfortable, one leg at a time, I'm going to turn toward the screen here. You can extend the knee outward to stretch the hip just a little bit. not forcing it. A couple times on one side, a couple times on the other side. And again, fingertips to the floor, hips up first, and then upper body. All right, so from behind the chair, let's take this into a back bend. It's a lot of forward flexion. So I want the toes pointing straight toward the chair, hands to the hips, get the elbows and shoulders back, shift the weight toward the toes, and then roll the head back. So tuck the chin in toward the chest, and then come up, arms, elbows, continue pulling back, pushing into your lower body. You want to stretch across the front side of the body. Give me 3 big breaths. Slowly release. So we're going to do some more Tai Chi to stretch the hips out, especially the hip flexor and the back of the hip socket. So I'm going to have you go to the left side of the chair, and we're going to do semi-warrior 1. So right foot forward, left leg back. I'm going to turn. So it's right leg forward, left leg back. And make sure you have room to shift forward and back. We're going to do one called wave on the beach. And so the hands turn out, I'm going to push, palms flat, and slide back. So wave comes out, washes out on the beach, spreads out as foam, and retreats back into the water. As you push forward, long spine, give me just a little baby stretch to your hip flexor. And breathe. Two more. Push out, slide back, and as you come back, step that right foot in. And switch sides of the chair. So you're going to the right side, and with left foot forward, right foot back. Left foot forward, right foot back. Make sure, again, you have room to shift forward and back. Wave on the beach, pushing out, sliding back. Long spine, not leaning, stay nice and upright. And 4, 3, 2. Coming back, stepping the left leg in. So you might want to go in front of the chair for this next one. It's just the horizontal tabletop circling. I'm moving my chair out of the way. Feet a little bit wide. Have room to shift side to side. Hands as if they're flat on the table. I'm going to circle from left to right. Around. And you're really just shifting your weight from hip to hip. Again, long spine, tall through the top of the head. Weight shifting from foot to foot, from hip to hip. Just to iron out those joints that we just used a lot for stretching and squatting. So you need 2 more full circles all the way around. Somewhere during that next circle, you're going to draw an S shape and switch directions. So coming up, swoosh, and back the other way. Now going from right to left. Just shifting the weight from hip to hip, deep breathing, connecting with your flow. And 2 more full circles all the way around. All right, narrowing your stance. We're going to go ahead and come back to the chair. Come back to sitting, so grab some water if you need it. While we're transitioning, if you like the class so far, consider giving me a thumbs up. Now, we've done a lot of extending, stretching in different directions. So for the end of class today, we're just going to do nice and easy. Left foot forward on the heel, toes up. I'm going to have my hands on my right leg and hinge down. You can stay here or reach one or both hands towards your toe, but really flexing the toe up and hinging forward. You should feel that hamstring stretch, especially if you're keeping the toes active. Three more breaths. Slowly coming up. And we're going to switch legs. So give me left foot in, right foot out. And hinging forward. So my hands are on my left leg. Long spine, come forward. So really just going to keep the toes up a little bit. And wherever you feel the stretch is all right. That's all we're doing, trying to get a little bit of a stretch here. And 3 more breaths. Slowly coming all the way up. And feet flat. So the next one's going to be a little tricky. You're going to turn towards your left with the left foot forward. And I'm going to step my right foot back on the toe, doing a hip flexor stretch, seated. So really I'm kind of in the middle of the chair. I'm turned toward the left side with the right leg back on the toe. Make sure that the foot's back on the toe. If the foot is turned or if your foot is flat, you're going to put a lot of pressure on the knee, so you want to get it back. And then just kind of come shoulder over hips. You should get a little bit of a hip flexor stretch there. This one takes some playing with sometimes. My left hand is on the chair for support. Right arm, I'm going to come up. And maybe pull back with the thumb a little. Try to be a long line from your right heel up through your right thumb. Reaching up toward the ceiling and pulling back. Lowering the right arm to your knee. You're going to lean forward to bring that leg up. And then turn 180. So I'm turning to the right foot in front. Having enough of your body off of the chair so your left leg isn't really hitting the chair. I'm going to set my left leg back on the toe and then come up, shoulders over hips. So using my arms to help slowly come up to wherever you feel a stretch. My right arm is on the chair for support, and I take the left arm up and maybe back a little bit. Back to the thumb and up to the pointer finger. Long line from your left heel through the left thumb, up and back. Few more breaths. The hands down, leaning forward to bring my left leg in and then squaring back to the front of the chair. Reach out with your arms. Give yourself a big hug and turn as far as you can to your left, looking over your shoulder, and give me 3 breaths. Slowly coming back to the center. I'm going to switch arms, so out and other arm crosses over. Turn as far as you can to your right, looking over the shoulder, and 3 breaths. Slowly coming back to the center. Reach your arms out, palms together, interlace your fingers, and give me knuckles toward the screen. Knuckles out. Palms out. Knuckles out. Take it up, and give me palms out. Give me a wiggle. Stretch, stretch. Breathe. Big stretch both arms. Knuckles out. And release it down. Take it out. So putting your left heel out. Circle the left toes. Big circle. Both directions. And switch feet. Again, circle. You never feel as uncoordinated as when someone tells you to circle your toes. And then other direction. Okay, so feet flat. Hug your knee up. And then sit tall. Up. Big hug up and release. Other leg, hug your knee up. Big hug up. Sitting tall. And release. Feet to a V shape. We did this one at the beginning. We're going to hinge down and back up 4 times, holding it at the last one. So hinging down and back up. Hinging down and back up. And 2. Last one, coming down and hold it. You can stay here with your hands on your knees. If you want to go farther, you can release the arms toward the floor. That's going to be up to personal preference and how much of a stretch you're getting. So you should be comfortable wherever you are. Slowly coming up. Using the hands, so you're not hurting your back. All the way up. And scooting back in the chair. So coming back to our breathing exercise that we started with, the elastic breath. Again, 4 parts. Active inhale, passive exhale, active exhale, active inhale. So starting with a deep breath in. Let it go like a sigh. Blow out. Once you feel the squeeze, we're going to relax and let the air come back in like a gasp. And then inhale. Double exhale. Double inhale. Double exhale. Double inhale. 2 out. 2 in. Let's go 3 more. And let it go. So getting comfortable in the chair, putting the feet out, hands resting on your thighs. Starting from the top of the head, work your way down. We're going to relax each body part individually. So you can start with the eyes and the face. Scrunch up your eyelids and release. Scrunch up your eyelids and release. One more time. Scrunch and then relax. And if that means your eyes are open or closed or half closed, whatever's comfortable. Clench your jaw 3 times and relax. After the third one, the upper jaw and lower jaw should be partially separated. Shake out the shoulders with the hands. I'm going to squeeze the hands and make tight bicep muscles. Squeeze and relax. Squeeze and relax. Squeeze. And the last time, let the hands down on the legs. With the leg, I'm going to shake out the legs. You can go one at a time. And then you're going to squeeze the toes. Clench the toes. Squeeze the legs and relax. Squeeze the toes. You might feel your lower abs activating too, and relax. One more time. Squeeze and relax. And really, that's it. I just want you to turn your attention to your breathing. Following the natural cycle of your breath, trying as honestly as you can not to participate, but to simply observe. Maybe your breath is short and shallow. Maybe it's long and deep. Don't judge. Just notice the quality of your breath. And as you watch, let yourself settle and sink even more to be more and more relaxed. And every time you think you're completely relaxed, relax a little bit more. And this does not have to be a passive stillness. If you need to adjust your feet or yourself in your seat to be more relaxed, let yourself do it. So slowly start moving the fingers and toes, the smallest joints of the body that are farthest out. Gradually let that movement come into the ankles and wrists. And then through the rest of the body, the elbows and knees, shoulders, hips, and spine. Allowing yourself to stretch however you think it would feel good. Starting with small stretches before making larger ones. But again, don't follow me. Go with whatever you think would feel good. Give yourself that big, good morning stretch. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your practice with us in this virtual space, for sharing your presence, and for sharing your breath. So from my home to wherever you're watching from, namaste. And hopefully this practice can go with you through the rest of your weekend. Thank you for joining me. So again, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to our channel and share wherever you use social media if you think somebody could use a good deep breath. Again, thank you and have a wonderful weekend.